Hello, everybody. It's Sam here and Connor here from Rolling with Story. Today, we've started our first video episodes, which we're very excited about.
Oh my gosh.
And we wanted to just give a little introduction of ourselves before we go on fully. Between us, we have combined about 20 years of DMing experience and general TTRPG game experience. We love talking to people about this. We're really, really passionate about it. And we hope that seeing our faces might help you be more passionate about us. That's obviously our aim here.
Or the complete opposite.
Or you might hate us.
They'll be like,
which is,
oh!
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
strong reactions. We're trying to provoke strong emotions here.
Yeah,
that's what we're about.
That is what we're about. It's weird, isn't it, being on... This is it, season 2 as well. So
I know,
season 1,
I know.
Over. Crazy.
I know.
How many episodes was it? 6 episodes?
It was 6 episodes. It was 6 glorious episodes.
Glorious
and we've taken our method and gone, let's improve on that. Let's put the videos in.
Yes.
And today our producers made an excellent series plan, and there was some great reordering, and we're going for a really cool episode today, which is how we started out in TTRPGs and how people can start out. So you can avoid some of the pitfalls I think people fall into.
Pitfalls? What pitfalls did you fall into?
I fell into none because you guided me into it, to be honest.
I had no idea what I was doing either,
we were
to be
spitballing.
honest. It was definitely spitballing. I mean, it would be interesting to see, because now it's like, when we were first coming up, we didn't really have any money. And it was the three of us, and we couldn't afford to get like a player's handbook. Or did we have a player's handbook and we just didn't read it?
When I started, we weren't even playing D&D. We were playing... You'd played D&D TTRPG games before, but you hadn't got fully the structure of the rules. So we played a loosey-goosey, you made up basically our characters with a load of rules. We had one set of dice between us. Our friend was DMing for us. And it was just a complete, just random deluge of nonsense. But it was so fun.
So good.
I remember having moments when we were doing that and going, wow, this is the hobby I've been missing my whole life. I was like 18 at that point, and I was thinking, I've been a creative fantasy person, like fantasy and sci-fi loving person my whole life. Where was this? I've been doing this in my head, imagining myself as Luke Skywalker dueling against Darth Vader. I've been imagining that, but you can take your imagination and you can crystallize it into something with D&D.
100%.
The best.
I wonder why. I wonder why you never came into contact, because I didn't come into contact with D&D until around about the same age when we first started playing. It was our friend Nibs that got us into it. But you had been in contact with Warhammer for most of your early life, right?
Oh,
through,
massively.
Teenagers years. It's crazy that you hadn't happened upon it, even though you were in quite the gaming circles and tabletop games in general.
It's weird. Now I look back on it, I go, I just missed that person saying, "Hey, check this out," and lending me the book. That was all I would have needed. I had a friend, Nick, who knew of it, and his brother had played it, but we always did that. We need to play that sometime. And then it never went further than that. And to be honest, the first time I ever heard about it was my uncle, bizarrely, who is now pretty he's not anti D&D, but he's quite skeptical of the concept. He's skeptical of the
concept of D&D.
That's
so interesting. What is he skeptical about? Whether it's any good?
I don't think he's the most dramatic person. So I think the sitting around a table and pretending to be elves is a bit weird for him, but which is fair enough. By the way,
most dramatic.
I know. I personally love doing that, but I know a lot of people that don't.
How weird, God! You don't like pretending to be all that could be orc? What? Crazy.
Yeah, and it's a funny one because the way he described it was he said he had a DM, he played it with his mates. He had an elf character. His elf character died in the dungeon, and then they just stopped playing because all the characters died.
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
The TTRP, the TPK Merc.
Yeah, the TPK Merc. Just all the characters died, so he just dropped out. And it was like, oh, right. And that would have been in the 80s. So that would have been AD&D, probably, is what he was playing.
AD&D, yeah.
And that was kind of the first thing I'd heard about it. But I reflect on it, and when I was playing Warhammer, I would be imagining the characters. I mean, for instance, one of my favourite characters in Warhammer 40k is Sanguinius. He's this angel guy, if you don't know.
He's the boy.
Yeah, he's the boy. He's the golden child, and he's got angel wings, and he's just awesome. And I used to go out on my trampoline, and I'd put my headphones in, and I'd listen to, like, epic music, and I'd bounce around on the trampoline, imagining I was fighting Horus Super Cool as Sanguinius, aged, like, 11 or 12. And, like, I just should have taken that and rolled dice to see if it happened, which is all that D&D is, really, is it's just imagination with the parameters of a game. Right,
because that really was what it was like for us. So in this episode, we kind of wanted to say like how to start DMing or like how to start playing games like TTRPGs and stuff. But for us, really, we were so like spitting sawdust. Like we gave each other like 10 health points and 10 mana, and we made up weird spells that did certain amounts of damage, and we made up. So from the start, we weren't really playing D&D, we were making up our own game because we didn't really have access to it or anyone that could give us access to it. So I think this is, if I can get anything across in this episode, is just start and also create. I think getting into D&D is such a creative thing. Very creative thing. I was going to say, like, I love creating stuff, but someone's experience of D&D might be they just really love playing D&D and they don't like creating stuff. I don't want to, like, tar everyone with the same brush.
But it depends what you want to create, I guess. Because for some people, it's about creating narrative, isn't it? Is what they want to do is they have a story they want to tell, and they want to share that with their friends and get their friends to contribute to the story, and it was about collective storytelling. For some people, it's about killing loads of goblins in a really cool way. And that's the story you want to tell. It's basically a hack and slash video game, but you're rolling dice instead of using a controller.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with any of those things. And I think the best place to start with getting into these games is by acknowledging the fact of what you want from it. And being honest with your friends about that, being honest with yourself about that. If you want to find a system to do that, like D&D matches for most things you want to try and do, and it's the most high profile, so it makes sense why people congregate towards it. If you want to do something really niche, like you want to play a really low power, really gritty horror game, Call of Cthulhu is its own thing. In fact, there's a whole genre of games that are based around you are really weak, you can do really cool stuff, but if the big monster turns up, you guys are toast, basically.
You're toasted,
or you're going to go
two
insane.
bullets in your gun.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them's for you, one of them's for the person
Yeah. It's tough, and like, be honest about that, and find a game that suits you, and be happy to get it wrong. Like, we were spitballing everything, and we were literally just making up the rules. We made up rules on the fly, where we were like, we want to try and do this, and our
what
DM
feels
would be
right.
Like, and our DM would be like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, one thing I wanted to do was I had a big sword, and we were fighting this massive, like 25-foot tall pit fiend called Daskar, and I wanted to leap into his leg and like pirate sail down his leg, like they do in Pirates of the Caribbean, down the sails, and it was great. And there's no rules for that. It was great. He basically roll an attack, cool, we'll make him do that, and it'll be really, really cool. And it was super cool, and we had so much fun with that. Now, if what you want is a robust gaming experience, maybe, and you're starting out, as a DM or as a player, maybe finding experienced players could be useful for you. Also, there's nothing wrong with watching people. Loads of people watch Critical Role.
Critical Role, what a gateway into the game as well. Like, I think our friend Nibs that we've just mentioned got into it by early rolling Critical Role. And that's what got us into it, because we obviously didn't have any of the rules, but that was what got us into it. And I think now there's even more waves. It's really funny because you can tell what campaign of Rolling with Story Critical Role joined, can't you? You can tell, like, because the first campaign was like really serious. The second one loosened up a little bit, and then the third one's really kind of loose. That's all spitballing because I actually haven't watched them. I know.
Honestly,
terrible.
Man, neither have I. If I'm honest, and this is a personal thing, I don't get anything personally from an enjoyment standpoint of watching other people play D&D. I just don't get anything from it. What I get a lot from is watching people talk about how to play it. So for me personally, between 2 campaigns, I wanted to improve my DMing, and I watched loads of Matt Colville videos. I watched loads of other YouTuber videos, and there was some like really, really useful concepts in those videos that just helped me so much. You don't have to watch Critical Role do it. They do it super well, and it looks amazing. And they're all pro voice actors, so of course they're going to look. Their RP is going to be off the chain because they are voice actors. And that's a big one. Is don't expect your fresh DM when you're coming in new to be Matt Mercer. And don't expect your players, if you're a DM, to be a Critical Role cast, because you're asking to disappoint yourself like that.
Yeah, you are. That's actually something I've heard a lot about as well. That kind of comparing yourself to these professionals. And, comparison's the thief of joy. You're just going to rob yourself of that. If we compared our little spitball games in that little 1-bedroom flat when we were making up our characters to Critical Role, it would have taken all the fun out of it and just...
That's it. Like, if I go to the park to play football with my friends, I'm not expecting to play like I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. That would be a completely unrealistic expectation.
Wait, you don't play football?
No, I don't. I'm more a Lionel Messi type personally, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
like, you that ball around.
Yeah, you just can't expect that. You just can't. So what I would do is set your bar at, you want to have fun with your group, and if you're having fun with your group every session, perfect, absolutely perfect, honestly, and that is all it's about, really.
I mean, like, what would you recommend to someone who's trying to like get into the game? Like, what would you recommend to them? How to start? How, if they don't have any friends that play, where to go meet some people to play? Like, where would be your, like, if you were to start all again?
Start fresh.
Just started afresh. What are you gonna do? Like, what would you? How would you get back into the game?
If I knew nothing, I think I probably would default to watching someone play, even though I've said personally, I now know I don't like that. I would go watch Critical Role, watch Dimension 20. There are innumerable great podcasts and videos and like of people playing their game. So watch those because they're really good. Also, like, find a friend who's at least willing to sit down with you and have a go. If you love it and they don't, that's okay. You can also do it yourself. But sometimes it's nice to have a friend along to kind of helping hand you through it. The other one hasn't worked for me personally, but has worked for us as groups, is get on your local D&D page, like, where we have made 2 very good friends, one of which is our producer right now, from going, we're looking for people to play in our D&D group and being on the same... Whatever.
We've got 2 spaces.
Yeah, 2 spaces. And then on putting it online, if people go, cool, we'll play.
Yeah. It's
so
true.
worth it.
And there's so many, like, it's crazy to think about where it was and where it is now. Like, there's shops opening up all the time where people are running games and clubs. Like, walk into them. I've got a friend that literally plays in a couple of those where they've just gone in and gone, anyone want to play? And people have gone, yeah, I want to play. Pages is a great one. Also, if you're young, if you're in school, I'm in my teacher training right now, and the school I'm going to runs a D&D club. And I know, Sam, as a teacher, you run your own
club at my school.
club.
Yeah, it's great.
School's a great way if you're younger. And don't be afraid to set your own thing up, because that's what we did. We were like, we want to do this, we want to have fun. And we just went out and did it. We just went out and made a game. If you build it, they will come. If you're willing to DM and craft a story, there's always people that are willing to play. Like, if you want to DM, you're lucky, because if you want, like, because I love DMing. I actually personally prefer DMing to playing, and it's been so easy for me to have games because everyone's looking for a DM all the time. It's like, anyone ever played MMOs and you play the tank or the healer. No one wants to be those. So if you play those, you just get in games really fast compared to everybody else.
It's like being a drummer in bands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone needs a drummer. Everyone needs a drummer.
Just like wanted so bad. It's a good feeling. feeling. DM, I can't recommend it enough if you love telling stories. Also the beauty of DMing compared to playing if you're getting into it. I'm now doing like a recruitment drive for DMs. All players out there watching it, you can thank me. I'm going to do a recruitment drive. It's your story, and you're never sat around the table waiting for something to happen. You're always in the action. You're always creating and making. Sometimes you're always white knuckling it and you're gripping the side of your desk and you're like, down the roller coaster. But it's such a beautiful experience. I just love connecting everything to people. You're kind of the web weaver, connecting all the characters together, connecting them to the story. And there's nothing better than looking around the table and seeing everyone excited and happy about what you're creating and what you're making. I just love that.
It is so satisfying. DMing is so satisfying, and like I knew I wanted to do it at some point. And actually, I think a cool place to start actually with that is talking about my first time DMing, which you were there for, which was basically we just got the D&D book, so we just got the Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual and the DM's Guide, and it had those three.
All free.
And I'd read
power free.
3% of each of them.
I think I've still read only about 3%.
I honestly, yeah. And and our friend was DMing, our friend Nibs, and we were playing a game, and he went, you know what? I'm actually done, guys. I'm quite tired.
Yeah.
And I thought
we've been playing for like 6-8 hours at this
point.
I
was like, okay, maybe I'll take over then. No, because that point we'd only been playing for like an hour, and he was like, I've DM'd quite a lot recently. Let's cut. And I was like, okay, I'll DM. I'll DM. That's no worries. And I had genuinely nothing written down, and we played for 10 hours total, didn't we?
It was crazy. Yeah,
we had a break where we walked from my house to Nibs's house, but we did literally play for 10 hours, and it was completely mad, and like, it was so good, but I could never recreate that because it was so like spur of the moment, throwing random things out, chasing a little storyline.
You've definitely recreated it, but it's your first time.
It's first time.
I remember that there's a scene of that game, that first game we ever played, which I'll never forget as well, which was that council meeting where it was like I was playing a kind of Wonder Woman-esque kind of Amazonian princess
she was
coming into Maliki coming into the city, trying to take over politically, and it became it started off kind of combat at the start, but then it became just a political intrigue campaign. It was just a back and forth in this political intrigue, and that's kind of where I fell in love with the storytelling of D&D, because we weren't fighting, we weren't doing any combat. It was just like political meeting after political meeting of like building this story of like how to gain power in the city, like win people onto the side and stuff. And that council meeting where it was like a Game of Thrones meeting where you've got like the one guy that's trying to snake you, and he's like in the council and he's like, I don't believe any of these promises, and then the Chancellor was kind of on my side, and I remember just being like, this is nuts. We're literally telling a story together. And it's completely improv. It's completely off the fly. And that's the magic of it. And we didn't, like you said, read 3% of the Player's Handbook to do that. So little. If there's people out there who are like us, who I have dyslexia, so getting through books is quite tough, especially rule books. You don't need it that much. No. You may find groups that really do want you to be up to spec on the rules and know all your stuff, but the way we've always treated it is we're just really like gentle with it. You know, if someone makes a mistake in the rules, we go, actually, just so you know, in this game we're playing it this way, or we're playing it that way. Well, actually, because our campaign, because we don't read the Player's Handbook, has 7,000. It was like you said, we had some new people join for the third campaign. And because of the amount of home rules we have, every couple of episodes. It was like, oh, I'm really sorry that you are playing that by the PHB. That's great, but we play it this way instead. It happened all the time in your Reloaded as well, because our friend Nick is awesome, so up on the rules, so clever, smashing it, and we had homebrewed all the rules because me and you hadn't read the book.
Yeah, or like I'd read them and I'd go, I don't like that. I just don't like that. That's how that works, and that is a key thing as well. I want to point out: if you're starting out and you read a rule and you don't like it, you are the DM. You can do whatever you want. If you want to cut that rule and just snuff it out, or what's better to do is go, as a group, guys, I don't like this rule for this reason. Mm-hmm. How can we make the rule better and fit how we want to play?
Yeah.
The classic one we talked about before is spells like the spell Polymorph. If you're not familiar with the spell Polymorph, you basically turn someone into a rat or a chicken or something or other. And it's really cool when you want to sneak your ally into a camp, and the only way you can do it is you have one sneaky person, somebody casts Polymorph on the other person you want, your big beefy guy you want to get in, turn him into a toad, put him in your pocket, sneak on through, pull the toad out the pocket, there you go. Bam.
Pocket toad.
Really, pocket toad. Genius, like a Pokeball. Awesome. Yeah. That works great. When it isn't so satisfying is when you've made a massive cataclysmic boss and he gets turned into a chicken. Then they put the chicken in a cage. That detracts from the narrative. So as a DM, what we found was that we'd go, that has actually bummed me out. That's bummed me out of my story. I don't think that is narratively satisfying for the story we're going to tell. Mm-hmm. If we're telling a goofy tale of kind of Looney Tunes nonsense, then absolutely turn people into chickens. But if you're playing like a more serious, high-level political intrigue thing, you know, Cersei Lannister's not turning people into toads. Do you know what I mean? She's doing other
pretty dastardly.
She's doing bad things, but not chickens.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And that's, I guess, once again, we talked about this in the first season, but it's once again really good to touch on it, is that, like, the code of the game that you're playing. Like, what is the code? What are we trying to play here? What does everyone want to do? Are we here to have a mess around fun game where we really do just do some outlandish, wacky things and it's all just jokes? Or are we going to try and do a Game of Thrones political intrigue where the campaign requires a certain level of serious kind of RP and roleplay to kind of get. So just having those discussions is super important. Yeah, gosh, starting as DM. What would be like? How would you what would you say to someone if they're like, right, I am gonna DM. I've got a couple of mates together. I've read the book a little bit. What would you say to like a first episode or someone trying to like give these, maybe they're new players, give the experience with D&D or tabletopping or role playing?
I think that initial conversation about what you all want to achieve is really key. The genre you want to play, so that I don't turn up with like, you know, Uncle Bill, the dart thrower from the pub, and you want to play.
That's
like,
a sick character.
A sick character. You go, sure, yeah, he's got the big beer belly and stuff. That would be quite funny. Yeah. But like, not if you want to play a Game of Thrones political intrigue campaign. If I roll up with the dart throwing Uncle Barry, it's just not. That just doesn't work. So that conversation's really important about what everyone wants to achieve from that, and you as a DM can set the precedent as well. You can say, I want to do a pirate campaign. We all know what pirates mean. There is going to be some fun, but there's going to be some walking the plank and some cutlasses and some grog and some cannonballs.
Yeah, some booty.
And some booty. Like that you know, and buried treasure and all of those things. And that's fine, and everyone knows where you are within that tale. Yeah. Also, I always think it's really good with your group to say, by the way, guys, I'm actually quite nervous because this is my first time. And there are going to be things where I don't quite know how I'm going to run it. one of the best things we've developed, I think, as a group, is the difference between a rule and a ruling. Which is, if you are unsure of how something should work in the rules and you want to just move the story on rather than rifle through books, make a momentary ruling and say, okay, today you can't climb that ladder with a bonus action. You can't do it for ruling. But I'm going to look into it. Next week I'll come back and give you a conclusive answer on that. To get things rolling. Otherwise, the worst thing is when you're in the flow state. You're in the flow state of your first time DMing, and then everyone pauses, and 3 people start rifling through different books and arguing about the nuances of a particular rule about ladders. That is just so bad. I really don't like that. So just move it on. Just go, right, cool. You can go up with a bonus action, sweet, but we're going to look into that later. Move it on.
Yes.
Do fun things. Don't rifle through books about ladders. Boring.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I like that as well. And it also depends on kind of the length of the campaign, because if you're doing a really long campaign, like the couple of years span, I would definitely do the session zeros. If you're doing it's your first thing, we can talk about session zero. Maybe it's a different video talking about that.
We mentioned them in season 1. We have mentioned the concept of session zeros.
But that's for long campaign stuff. But I really do think, like you said, with if you're just meeting up, it's your first game, you've got some friends together, or you've found some willing people to be your guinea pigs. It's about kind of reading the room, getting an assessment of how people. Also, like we said about in last season with the character profiles. Try and learn what people like around the table as fast as possible. Be really on the lookout for those triggers. What are people really focusing on? What are people really enjoying? And then once you know that, you can start tailoring the game to that. So that's what I would do as a DM. Start looking for those things. You're probably not going to be looking at those things because if you're a first-time DM, you're white-knuckling it and you're like, oh my god, my brain! I'm trying to suss everything out and make every plan, but... And relax with it. Rely on a bit of intuition. I find that could be just because I really like seat of the pants playing, but relying a little bit on your intuition, feeling what's right for the moment. If something happens, go okay, what's the most interesting thing that could happen as a reaction to this thing that is happening? So, someone spills the grog on barkeeper. Or a person at the bar. Are they going to be really happy about that and just, it was all right, mate, yeah, it's cool, it's chill? Or do you want to make an altercation here? Would that be the most interesting thing that's happening? And picking those spots as well, we talk about pacing, and we've got a video planned later in the season about pacing. But reading, you're trying to juggle a lot of balls as DMing. But just try and make it the most interesting things to happen. And don't worry about setting an end goal. I think that's a trap I used to fall into loads when I was beginning out, which was, I've got to get them to here, and then I've got to get them
by
to
the end of the episode.
And then I've got to get them to here.
Yes.
And then I've got to get them to here to get this thing to happen. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. 100% don't do that. Because go on, carry on.
No, go on.
Okay, I'll carry on.
Yeah, go on.
Because you are going to set yourself up to fail. Firstly, when actually there's no failure in not quite reaching the town you thought you would. Because if you made a cool story on the way, and they found some buried treasure on the way, and they encountered two cool NPCs that they had a conversation with, that's a win. That is the story. You don't need to reach the location or the mission, because the aim is to create a story. And that, I think, is really important. Now, what you were saying actually about the character profiles, I think was really interesting about saying, first time DMing, you're probably not going to be character profiling all your players and going, he loves it when we do high intensity combats. She loves it when there's loads of lore drops. What you could do instead is go, at the end of the episode, what did I like the most? And go, what did I do? I loved the combat. The combat was my favourite thing. I loved managing the couple of goblins and that wolf that came in, that jumped, over the hill and started savaging one of the players. I loved that. If you love that, do that, because that's the bit you're going to like the most. Don't do the stuff that you didn't enjoy because it's going to fall flat more. You can do lots of different things, but I would say early on, invest your time in the bits you love, and if your players are telling you they love that too, then that's your game. That's the campaign.
Yeah. I would also put in, especially early on, find out what you like, and then play with a load of different stuff to find out if anything out there is the stuff you like. So make sure you're getting a bit of combat. Make sure you're getting a little bit of RP in there. Make sure you're getting a little bit of storytelling, a bit of like cooperative storytelling. Get all these elements in and go, okay, I really liked this. I really didn't like that. Like, say you had like some player conflict. You're like, oh god, that really was uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy that. You could be like, okay, well, I just want to have a discussion with my players afterwards. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't think that was great. Obviously, softer than that. I struggle with being soft sometimes, but you could be like, it's like, yeah, I didn't enjoy that. I'm trying to make this thing. Is that cool? Are we cool to come along with this? I really enjoyed the combat. What did you people think about the combat? Did you enjoy that too? And just, yeah, I think getting feedback from your players is really important too. It's something I neglected for a large part of my DMing career. It's something that's super important. Get some feedback. It's okay to ask what parts people enjoyed. Sometimes they'll say they didn't enjoy anything. Okay, sure. Right? You always have the dud episodes. That is also another thing to be prepared for. You will have episodes where it goes so good and you finish the episode and you're riding this crazy high and you're just like, amazing, best game in the world. And then you'll have episodes where you're like, everything I did fell flat.
Yeah.
Like, every single thing I tried to do, no one picked up, no one was enjoying it. Because also you're playing with people, you're not playing a video game. Yeah. People have bad days, people will have a bad day at work but still want to come hang out with their friends, or they'll be really tired, or they'll have a family problem but they still want to socialise. So you'll have people at the table who maybe don't want to interact as much. I've had games where no one really wants to react that much, and it's kind of you doing everything and kind of being the dancing monkey for like 4.5 hours. Yeah. And being like, whoa, yeah, this happens. Everyone's like, oh, that's cool.
It's so true. It so happens. True. And letting that be okay,
yes,
I think is really important. Like, the goal isn't for every episode to be amazing. The goal is to tell a great story. There will be moments where it's hard. There's also the moments. This is one of those things. Sometimes the players make it boring. Sometimes the players want to go on a 2-hour shopping spree, and they want to bargain with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in every shop, and you're just like, oh great, okay, so it's a shopping episode. That's one of those. I do nothing except make up the arbitrary value of potions, and they pay me the money, and then that's it. Or they try and steal it from the the guy at the shop, and it's just like. And that's okay, though.
It is okay.
That is okay.
Those episodes are so funny because I find that the only thing you can do as a DM in those type of episodes is make wacky
NPCs.
NPCs. But it feels like every single city you're in has these just wacky. Like you go into the trade district, every single shopkeeper's like this weird, crazy.
The merchant guilds have got some really weird prerequisites to take part. You've got to be the most crazy personality. I completely agree, because that is the way to enjoy it, is to just throw out random NPCs.
Yeah.
And honestly, if in doubt in an episode, throw in an NPC. Because people will find it interesting. Even if they hate them, sometimes you throw one out. I've done it before, where I've made a character, an NPC, that I thought was cool and would be helpful to the party, and they've despised him from the actual start, or them from the start. And
if anything, that's how it always goes.
Oh, right. And then sometimes you met this innocuous person and they become completely obsessed with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you made an NPC that you know is really cool. So, for instance, for me, in my Cyberpunk one, there was this character called the Viceroy, and she was the Viceroy of this city. She was like a genius magical prodigy. She could smith these items of like super crazy power. She was obviously really cool and high power. Yeah. But all of you were so mistrustful of her the first few times you met her. You were really oh, she's a wrong un. Because she's a monarch, she must be bad. Yeah. People in the comments, don't come for me if a viceroy isn't technically a monarch. Please don't come for me. There'll be somebody like, wait, hold on there. But I thought she'd be useful, and she was a story beat NPC, useful. And she was eventually. It took a long time for you guys to warm to her. Eventually, she was a major NPC. She was a confidant. She got to give advice to the players.
Yeah.
But it's also okay if the players don't really want anything to do with them. And you go, okay, cool. My cool character that I like, they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Gotta leave it be. They'll find somebody else. And almost always it's the most random character. I had another guy called Robo Reg, and he spoke in his robotic Robo Reg robotic voice. And there was this one episode in the previous campaign where they were going to like showdown with the big bad guy, gang leader dude called Yao Xin. And they were just ringing all of their friends, like, please help us, please, like calling all their allies. And they'd been on a bit of a warpath of like annoying people,
it's true,
and stealing things. So nobody really wanted to come except the valiant Robo Reg did turn up, and he did chip in, and you get those funny moments where they get to take part, and that's really funny. I always think.
I think as well with that, because as you were speaking, I was thinking, and I was like, I've had characters too that are like these powerful characters, and the players don't quite sit with them. I think it's because the character themselves maybe are too serious, or they take themselves too seriously. Because players, because they're people, they are always like, take Critical Role Campaign 1, they're not taking themselves seriously. They have these intense moments of seriousness, but then behind the scenes they're joking and making fart jokes and stuff.
Yes.
So I think players are like, that's human. And then we try and make these really sick Gandalf-esque characters, and we make them so serious because they are serious because they're really cool, but I think then the players can't connect as much to them because they are these kind of aloof forms. And then but you need those in a campaign. You need these kind of wise people to. But don't be surprised when the wacky person that's got the bit of the sense of humour, the Barbus Oakenhill people, get picked up because the characters can humanise them and they can like play with them a little bit more than serious people. Yeah. So that is an interesting kind of difference that I thought about.
And I also think players are paranoid.
Yes.
They're so paranoid. Yeah. They're so scared of threat, particularly at the low level. They're like constantly like, oh, he could call 20 guards, and 20 guards would probably be enough to kill us. That would get us done.
Yeah.
And so you're scared of the king. You know he could do something bad to you. He could hang you in the gallows, or whatever, put you in irons in the dungeons. And that's okay, and then you have to build trust with those sorts of NPCs. Whereas you just mentioned a great one, Bartibus Oakenhill, who was this flamboyant bard. He didn't come across as a threat.
Yeah.
But low-key, the guy had a ring of 3 wishes, so he could have done us all at any time if he wanted to. But he came across in this funny, jovial, whimsical way that none of us were paranoid about him. We just thought, oh, he's a goofy, fun guy.
He's a goofy, fun guy.
Actually, he was a pretty major player in the game. Yeah. But, so I think that's a key one. I think that's a key one with NPCs, of just knowing players are going to mistrust everybody. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
That's okay.
You can let them build trust slowly.
What kind of resources would you say to someone who's like DMing, like... if you were to DM first episode, the first things that come to mind, like make a couple of NPCs, make a location, we can dive into how to do these things, but let's make a list first, I reckon.
Yes.
Like, so NPCs, a location, and kind of like maybe a narrative, right?
I would make... Yeah, so it depends. So are you starting... Is it your first ever D&D episode? You're not
Let's
trying
say first ever.
You're just trying one out, right?
Let's just say we're trying one out. We've got a couple friends together. They're coming around for some beers. We're going to play a game.
So I would take the location and the NPCs, the quest you want to play, the windmill's haunted. Okay. And I'd make 3 clues in different places that could lead to the windmill. Because what you don't want is you make 1 clue and it's on the town notice board and it says ghost seen in the windmill.
Yeah.
And then the players burn down the notice board because they think that's funny. And then your clue's gone.
Yeah.
And you can, as a DM, recycle the clue. You can.
For sure.
You can do that anytime, because actually, and this is the beauty of DMing, if you wrote it on your sheet that the clue was on the notice board, you can make that actually appear in somebody's pocket or something weird like that. You can. It does take something out of the player agency of them doing that, but if you don't know another way to get them to go to that place, and they have to find the letter, give them the letter, a courier walks up and hands it to them, mistakes them for someone else. There's loads of ways you can give
one that comes
a
to
clue
my
to
mind
someone.
would be notice boards burnt down. They go to the sheriff's office and the notice is pinned to the door or something. So it's kind of in the same vein, but it's
that's cool.
Just taking the piece of paper and putting it to a different place. Put your clues in front of your players, basically.
Yeah,
like you can do that, and I would go get your 3 clues, and then you could put ones on the front of the door. It was on the notice board. They walked past the notice board. They didn't see that one. We go to the sheriff's office because someone in the tavern says that the sheriff has a job or something. As they're going into the sheriff's office, it's on the door. They can expect it. Let's say they do this time. Oh, that's interesting. Something about the windmill, or like someone's missing. They go into the sheriff's office. And then I would have another one set up as well. Another clue, like an actual missing person's notice or something like that, on a different part. And then if you have these clues, you can place them in front of your players and kind of build up suspicion in front of them as they're moving along. So have the 3 clues and then disperse them when you believe that you've put enough time in. But like you can just put them in front of them like this.
That's such a good point. Yeah, such a good point of like chaining where you want them to turn up, and totally true. Give them put them in front of them. One thing I think that's really, if you're preparing your first episode, it's very easy to overcomplicate everything and extrapolate and go, okay, clue number 1 is on the notice board. Mm-hmm. They go to the notice board. It says that this person's gone missing. The first thing they're going to do, they're obviously going to go to that person's house. And then they'll find the overturned stone, and then they'll find the next clue, and then the next clue, and then the next clue. And it's like, but actually what they do is they go, oh, there's a missing person. Let's go to the sheriff. And you didn't prepare for that at all.
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh my God, they're never going to find that clue. Don't leave it more fluid than that. I would personally leave it more fluid than that and say, I would say the clues are, there is a missing person, and the sheriff knows something.
Maybe he's in on it.
Her house reveals something.
Yeah.
And then a third person, like the baker has some bloodstains on his apron. But he's not a butcher. You thought he was a butcher the first time you saw him, but he's a baker. You know, things like that. Like that, it's loose. Yeah. You can have the baker turn up in the inn in the evening when everyone settles down. You can have the baker walk past them. You can have them see the baker as he walks out of the sheriff's office and he's trying to hastily clean his apron off. There's loads of ways you can chain that together. Yeah. And if you leave it loose for yourself, you can get into that flow state where you find the moment, and the moment comes, you pop them down, there's the clue, there's the NPC.
For sure.
The big scary baker with the big scar down his face, things like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was thinking as well, like, what happens when they've completely ignored all your clues, they're sat in the inn, they've been in the inn for 2 hours of the game, and you're like, I need to move this on. Or you've got the dreaded silence. Best thing to do is the inciting incident. Have someone burst into the inn, like, fall down dead, and they've got, like, ghost strangle marks on
yeah,
or something like that. Do you know what I mean? You can do these 100%. Kind of things as well if the crew are just not moving on, or they're stuck, and they could be having fun and you want to allow them to have fun, so you let them stay in the inn, but then they use up all the resources in the inn and they start to get to this kind of like, what do we do? Bring the pace up, have something happen, bring it to them. Players can be quite obstinate and not want to go near anything. So sometimes you really do have to be prepared to bring it to them. Bring it right up to them and go, look at this, it's right in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. And the dreaded silence.
The dreaded
silence. I really dread that. I've had it before, and it's so difficult. It's actually, I'd say the silence is really hard over Discord, because silence is easier to dispel in person.
Yes.
And actually that, I'll come back to in person and online in a minute in relation to this.
An episode this season about it. Yeah. Tune in for that one.
Tune in for that one. Absolutely. Kick something off. Just kick something off. And the other thing that is useful to know is if there is one of your players who's the most role-play confident, if you're playing a role-playing game, like if you're playing we're going to do voices and do little acting bits, you might not be, but if you are, throwing something at them specifically, and they're not the person that's going to freeze up, can be really handy to get things moving.
That's quite interesting.
Can be really handy. Somebody brushes past them and whispers in their ear, "The ghosts come at the toll of 12." And then the bell starts ringing or something like that, and you're like, "Oh, the bell rings 10, but not 12." And you're like, "Oh, 2 hours."
They try and look for the person that brushed them, and they're not there anymore. Exactly. And that person is going to actively do something. Yeah.
If you try and bring in the quietest person in the group, they can make them clam up even more if they're not confident. Yeah. And what you don't want to do is create an environment where people are uncomfortable.
Yes.
You want to create an environment where people are comfortable and having fun.
Yes. Yeah. That's really interesting as well, because that reading people like that is a skill that you will develop over time.
Yeah.
You will get it wrong. Sometimes you'll feel really bad. You're like, I've called on that person, or you've tried to engage that person, and they're really not engaging with you, and you feel really awful. But it happens. You'll be learning, and there will be a time where you start to get a feel for this. You'll start to be able to call people out of their kind of a bit insular. You'll be able to call them out. You'll be able to gently pry them out of their shell. And we've had some people that have been really kind of introverted, and they're yelling speeches out along with the rest of us by the end, And that's the beauty of D&D, really, and TTRPGs, and games that are role-playing. It doesn't matter about your confidence. Same as acting. By the end, you can be joining the rest of us, really, in that.
Yeah, introvert or extrovert, you can have fun playing role-playing games. It's so key. Just your enjoyment is paramount. Your friends' enjoyment is paramount. If you guys are enjoying yourselves, that is a successful episode.
Yes.
Not everything needs to be, a massive
do you know what?
thing.
I love that. That's actually where I reckon. What time are we at? We close. I think
we're right on it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're enjoying yourself, you're doing it right. Just have fun. There will be days where it's not as fun, but that's okay. Enjoy yourself. Try and have as much fun as possible.
100%.
What a chat, Sam. What
chat. Really good, man.
First episode of season 2.
Really nice.
What fun. Yeah,
what fun. Really, really nice. I'm in that situation with the video where I'm so chronically aware of myself. Constantly looking at myself,
I'm such a fiddler. I've been fiddling with my headphones. I'm just like, oh god, I need to put it down. I can see it now. My weird facial expressions. You get so I'm sure that as the episodes go on, we'll get to a point where it becomes so just second nature to the same as kind of speaking.
We'll get there. We're gonna get there.
For sure.
Amazing.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been super fun. I really want to thank everybody actually for joining us. I hope that you've learned something and can take something away from what we're saying. It might be that your next session you try something out. It might be you never try it out and it's completely irrelevant to you. But I'm thank you for listening and taking part with us. We want to get on the call to action.
Yes,
we'd absolutely love it. If you like this episode, to like, comment, subscribe, set up notifications, share it with your friends. In 2 weeks' time, we're posting a new episode, which is a new content series we're making called Guard Duty, which is going to be a little bit looser, and it's got a little bit of a theme. And we're going to be talking widely, not just about role-playing games, but also about our experiences, what we enjoy, what influences we have narratively, what books we like, those sorts of things. So it's going to be a bit more open in that respect, and I hope that people are going to enjoy that. Tune in for that in 2 weeks' time. If there's anything you want to hear us say, let us know. Drop a comment. We are accepting comments on Spotify these days. In fact, I'm manning that particular one. I think, Connor, you've got your eye more on the YouTube, haven't you?
I'm on the YouTube. I'm at the helm.
The helm. The
helm of YouTube there. So if you any comments, I'll be around.
Yeah, please let us know. We would love to hear what you want us to say and to hear us talk about. That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
And keep rolling.
Keep rolling. Wow, we did it. How do we end it?
That might be.
Butcha! Wow! Cool. I'm desperate for a wee.
Yeah,
I'm desperate for a wee for about 15 minutes. Right, I'm going to give me toilet. Be right back.